Warning, this video is intended for persons 13 years and over. Though the video's subject matter is media often aimed at children, it is talked about from an adult perspective. Thus it may contain language and themes unsuitable for younger audiences. What up, snitches? I'm the Animaniac, and today I'm going back to the House of Mouse to check out their new horror comedy series, The Owl House. Created by Dana Terrace, who before this worked on Gravity Falls and the DuckTales reboot, is now the fourth woman to have created a show for Disney after Sue Rose, Chris Nee, and Darren Nefsey. It's about a teenage girl named Luce, who stumbles upon a portal to a place called the Boiling Isles. There she meets a witch named Ida and a tiny demon named King. There she pursues her dream of becoming a witch by serving as Ida's apprentice at the Owl House during the summer. You know, when they pushed back the premiere date for the show, I could only assume it was because the premise felt similar to Amphibia, another Disney show. And like Amphibia, Owl House is another Disney show that had gotten a second season before it even premiered. Disney? Stop it. You don't even know if it'll be good yet. Now I will say, off the bat, I like it much better than Amphibia, as I was immediately taken by Luce's playful charm and hopeful optimism. Said playfulness did remind me of Star Butterfly a touch, but she never comes off as obnoxious when she tries to deal with something that'll get her into trouble. From that last quality, I guessed a potential character arc for Luce. Since she started the show out getting herself into trouble, but doesn't want to tone down herself for anybody, not even her single working mother, I guessed the show would be like, you like being in a fantasy world with unfathomable danger? Well, here it is! Hopefully you'll realize how far you take things before this world kills you. You know, by living in this bizarre world, she could learn how to restrain herself through the mistakes she makes, and would go on to practice mindfulness of other people. Little something to keep in mind for later on. Our heroine lives with the infamous witch of the Boiling Isles, Ida. The reason for her infamy is that she's the only witch who refused to join a coven. Apparently in this show's world, it's illegal for a witch to not be in a coven. If you're somewhat familiar with Wendy Malick's work, then this really isn't anything special. In fact, it kind of feels like she's coasting with this role. And her roommate is a scrappy little demon named King, who thinks he's an actual king among demons who share the same stature as him. I would have found this hysterical if he spoke and carried himself like a king. He's mildly amusing as he is, but I would have liked a dignified sounding voice to come from that scrappy design. The show's character animation has three gears that it shifts between: standard pose to pose, smooth and graceful, and just a sprinkle of anime. Now I'm no anime buff, but I do know enough to at least spot the 3 frames per second kind of animation. Like when Luce was falling before Ida catches her in the intro, or when King was being chased by Ida in her cursed form. The next step above anime would be the smooth and graceful type of animation, like when Luce, Ida, and King are riding away from the authorities on a witch's staff in the intro, and when Luce finds one at the end of her quest in Witches Before Wizards. Her twirling in delight and the effects animation were good. More on that episode later, but it pales in comparison to the witches' duel in Convention. Ida's giant wooden hoodie is the best effect in the show so far, as I haven't seen anything close to that. Maybe it's because they didn't have any more room in the budget for more moments like that, which meant for the rest of the season so far they stuck with standard pose-to-pose animation. In the lead up to the show's premiere, I expected the Boiling Isles to look like a fantasy world with modern conveniences to the level of Star vs. did, but I was mildly surprised to see that it leaned more towards traditional fantasy, but not so far as to be in the same camp as Amphibia. I'll get more into the world building after part 2 of this season comes out. This environment, though comical, does present some dark stuff, like turning detention into a creature that eats you and brainwashes you into behaving whilst at school. I'm surprised parents weren't protesting the show for reasons like that. A character's head that just got chopped off? Carry on, Disney. Wait, this show is also teaching witchcraft? Storm the offices! We'll set up the pyre. In all seriousness, the show's horrific imagery is good, but it did stumble when coming out the gate. specifically in Witches Before Wizards, when a wizard fulfills Luce's fantasy of being an adventurous heroine by giving her a map and sending her on a quest to find a magic staff. The first thing this guy does to put me off of him is when we first meet him. He just comes off a little too eager for Luce. That sounded so wrong. And when she's on her quest for the staff, the characters she meets repeat how she's the chosen one. During those sequences, I'm feeling annoyed at the repetition, therefore I'm being taken out of the scene. Thus, the moment where the wizard and all the characters Luce meets being puppets doesn't have the effect it wanted on me. If the episode gave more time to Luce going through the whimsical village, doing various favors for them, or just enjoying the seemingly friendly atmosphere of the scene, and if possible, maybe they could work in a layer of unease somehow. And perhaps they could cut down the time Ida and King had investigating the wizard, so that when Luce gets to the staff and finds out it's not real, we feel like idiots along with Luce as she's about to meet her end at the tentacles of the Puppet Master, who should have kept his real form in the mist for a little while longer, by the way. Witches Before Wizards is one of those episodes I would have liked a lot better if done differently. Thankfully, I found it to be the one low point of the horror in this show. Now let's move past the bookcase of costumed animals brain dead from being coddled too much to something with a little more heart. A little while after the show premiered, I checked out an interview from Animation magazine where Dana explained what inspired her to make the series. Just like Luce, Dana had some very odd interests that alienated her from her peers. But unlike Luce, it took her until she was in her 20s to find people she felt like she belonged somewhere. That's what the first episode takes us through. However, during the conformatorium section of that episode, Luce makes a speech about how it's okay to be weird. The way she puts it is so vague that it could apply to anyone, even the villains. Outside of that, the episodes succeeding at dealing with this aspect so far are decent. Let's dive deeper into this show by going back to Ida and the bone the Emperor's Coven has with her. This conflict does get personal in the episode Covention, when she bumps into her sister Lilith. As the series went on, I went back to this episode and came to this conclusion about Lilith. She and Ida wanted to be a part of the Emperor's Coven when they were girls, but as the two grew up, Lilith still wanted to get in, but Ida didn't and just wanted to remain an independent witch. She must have felt abandoned and resented her for leaving and convinced herself her sister's life is an awful one and that she needs help. Certainly a storyline with a lot of promise, and with the tension and mystery Ida's curse would bring, I'm excited to see where this will go. The Owl House stumbled out of the gate, but it recovered and made up to become something with promise, and I'm curious to see how the rest of the season will turn out. Part 1 was a gay old time. Guys, what are your thoughts on this new series? Let me know in the comments. If you guys want to stay updated on future videos and see some cool artwork, be sure to follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr, and DeviantArt, and be sure to subscribe to my second channel over on BitChute. The links are in the description. And if you want to be the first to know when a new video will be up, ring that bell after you subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.